Good morning. Welcome. You're watching Visionary Aging, and I am gerontologist Mary Winters, the owner of About Senior Solutions. We do this program because we want you to have information at your fingertips to know that if you need anything for the most successful aging experience you want, that we are here for you. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about social isolation. It's actually been considered a pandemic through the CDC. And we'll talk a little bit about what some of these physical effects, and obviously we're aware of some of the emotional effects of isolation, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Today is National Bagpipe Day, which is kind of exciting. As a Scot at heart, my maiden name is McDonald. That's something that was really special growing up in my family, bagpipes. And we will have a caregiver question with our Steve McCullough, and Melinda Hughes will be on with us from the Strength Shop. We're going to talk a little bit about something very interesting. So let's go ahead and get going with a little conversation with our buddy Steve. Let's see if we can find his intro, and we'll get started. Here we go. Morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So what kind of question did you get today?
Today we have a very good question. It comes from one of our viewers. They have a parent who's receiving in-home care from a third-party service, and they're not happy with the service that's being provided. The person that comes in doesn't come in on their hours. They're not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be, what they're scheduled to do that day. And they're trying to, so the question is, how do we approach this? How do we deal with this? What's like the best way to like not upset the apple cart, but get these issues resolved?
You know, it's tough. So it sounds like they have maybe a private caregiver, and we can talk a little bit about the expectations of both somebody that you hire as a company versus a private caregiver. And you become the employer of record when you hire your own person. So people think we can 1099 home caregivers in California. You may be able to do that in other states, but California will not allow you to do that. You become the employer of record. And if for any reason you were to separate your relationship with them, they have the right to be able to go to EDD and say, I was their employer and I no longer have work. I'd like to collect unemployment. And then they're going to say, well, who are you? We never saw any records of you being employed by anyone. So a couple things. It's really important to follow the rules in regards to that. There are attorneys who specialize in setting up contracts for that. I know it's very expensive, so the expectation is to try to reduce some funds that way, or reduce the cost, because we have limited funds to be able to provide the care, to go directly oftentimes, but just do it correctly. There are ways that you can do that. You can talk to our office, 626-359-0108, and we can direct you to some resources, or just just in brief, tell you what is really important to make sure that you're doing that. But the question really is, how do I manage this person? You are the manager. So you can either go look to find other people to employ, and people do that in all different ways, putting out ads and so forth, ask for recommendations from friends. But you can also use a home care agency. Interestingly, the area of home care we're having more challenges, even with the industry, with the paid agencies that are really great and have qualified people that they've run background checks on. I don't know if you've necessarily done that if you're bringing somebody in your home, but that's also something that you want to know. But the industry is down by 38% for caregivers. 38%. Yes. So this is why we're having such a challenge, and people are kind of naming their own rates. And it's obviously getting more expensive with the home care agencies to provide care. So we have to really look at the whole financial picture of individuals, to look at how long they can stay at home, or maybe they need that one-on-one support in a senior community. So it's going to be a challenge. And I think the really great caregivers will stay on board, and we'll have to figure out how to probably do some shifting of one person caring for two people in a house, or kind of sharing some of those responsibilities. I guarantee you the rate will go up hourly if that's done, but it could still be an easier split. But going back to how do you manage those hours and so forth, it is your employee. So unless you are using an agency who you can report to and say, I do not like this caregiver, or this caregiver is showing up late, they usually have a system to know that's happening. They have to call in to say that they started their shift and leave their shift, or you'll hear from the previous caregiver that I can't be relieved because my person hasn't come yet. But all of those things then become the responsibility and the angst of the agency and not you. So that is one way to definitely get those issues off your plate, or to have a nice pool of people that you can work with and schedule around. But people get sick, and people can have cars that break down and all kinds of other things that are really challenging. So definitely call our office if you have some questions, but it's not an easy answer, and there's not always an easy fix. So, and we're going to probably have bigger problems around that area too. So I hope that answers their question. But it's tough right now.
Very good. So, thank you.
Yeah. Are you going to come on later and give us a day in sports?
I am, absolutely.
All right. That sounds great. So we'll go ahead and we're going to do a little birthday celebration then. We'll talk about someone's birthday here. She turned 100. And let me go ahead and we'll find her picture and get going. We have a beautiful lady turning 100, or actually she already turned 100. And her name is Elva Korak, and was born at her family home in the Bells area. And she had 10 siblings. And this happened before they had a hospital, apparently, in that area. She's celebrating her 100th over at the Cedar Hollow retirement home. And we wish her a very happy birthday. If she's 100 and those are her children in the background, they all look fantastic. What a beautiful, wonderful family. I hope you have a fantastic birthday and many, many more. So let's go on to, you know what? We also have, let's bring Melinda on. Yeah, I could see her waving in the background. So let's bring Melinda in. Hey, Melinda, how are you?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
So we didn't think you were going to be on today. So I'm really sorry to hear that your client had food poisoning, but
I know.
I'm not glad at the same time. So
yeah, well, she needed the day off, so here I am.
There you go. There you go.
I was gonna give. I'd love to put underneath the live stream a link to a sequence of exercises that we made for our clients at the Strength Shop when COVID began and everyone went into quarantine. And the reason is that, you know, a lot of people are struggling right now, no matter what area you live in, people who exercise outside, either it's too cold and snowy and
raining today
in the east, or you're in Southern California and it's raining. We're having a lot of rain, which is well needed, but it also can get in the way of somebody's, you know, fitness program if they're used to getting their exercise outside. So the series of kind of exercises that we put together were meant for people to do in quarantine. And there's a lot of the exercises that we put together there, they're very safe for anybody, for all ages, for, you're able to modify them. And we talk about how to modify them in the video for
Nice.
all different levels of fitness. And they're things that you can do inside, because that's what we were all staying inside. So I think it's important when the weather does turn crummy and you're not able to, in some areas, they may not even be able to drive to a gym. So,
For sure. Yeah.
It can be really helpful if you can, get a quality workout from your home. And it also prevents us from getting sick, because keeping our level of activity, or physical fitness up, it boosts our immunity and prevents us from getting, there's all sorts of nasty bugs going around in Southern California right now, and I'm sure all over that, you want to do all that you can to keep your body healthy and to, prevent from getting sick, because no one likes to have the sore throat or the cough or the whatever.
Exactly.
It's not pleasant.
So is there a site you want people to go toward, and then I can jot it down?
Yeah, we have the video on YouTube.
Okay.
Let's see here. I can send, do you want me to text that to you?
Sure.
And I thought if you wanted, I can show a couple of the exercises right now.
I don't know if I have the capacity to pull that up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, but if you have, do you want me to direct them to your website?
Let's see here. I was thinking I could show you right now just with on here.
Sure. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and.
Yeah. And then
but it is important, because, you're really helping to build your reserves too.
Yeah.
When you have physical strength, and when you get sick, obviously a younger person can typically, if they're healthy, they can typically rebound much better than an older adult oftentimes. And it's always surprised me who bounces back from COVID too. We had horrible situations where clients were on memory units and so forth. And I had one client in particular who had respiratory issues on oxygen and had COVID pretty badly. She wound up actually rebounding, where others surprisingly did not. So you have that up now? And
yeah, sorry, that's why it was automatically playing. I was trying to get you the link in your text.
Okay.
But I did email you the link. I was trying to copy the link.
So we'll have it available in our office too, if anybody wants that.
So a couple of the things, there's a wall sit, and you can see my lovely red door over here. So I'm going to do this wall sit against the door.
Okay. I think this is the first time we've seen you actually do exercise.
Yeah.
So here, I'm going to go just towards you.
You see like that? Or we can go down.
Yes.
And we just sit against the wall.
Okay.
And it's really utilizing all the muscles that we would use on the leg press. When you don't feel like you can hold this position anymore, you can just gently lower yourself down to the floor. And what we have our clients do who maybe can't get up from the floor is we have you put a little bench or a seat underneath your bottom, so that when you're done holding yourself there, you can just sit in the seat and then rest and then get up. You can also vary how difficult that exercise is. The deeper you sit against the wall, the more your muscles are going to be working. So if you're at a high level of fitness, you're going to sit deeply so that there's a 90-degree angle. If you're not as strong as to be able to hold that position, then you would just stand a little higher, and so you have a slight bend and those muscles are working, but it's not it's not too much. And so you can really adjust how deeply you're working the muscles by how deeply you're sitting. And then again, you put a chair. Usually it's good if it doesn't have a back. It's a little bit better if it's like like a makeup stool is like
Okay.
the thing we always tell people to grab, and you just put that underneath you. Then when you become, you know, the muscles become too exhausted to hold yourself in that position anymore, you just sit on the chair. So that's one of the ways that we can work the legs. The other thing that we like to show people to do that's a really good exercise, and something that you can obviously do from the comfort of your own home, is we do a push-up, but we do a slow motion push-up. So I can show you real quick on the ground here.
All right, we're going to go back to you.
So you can modify this. People, like the beginning stage of this would be to do it against a wall. So if you're doing it against a wall, it's a lot easier. You can also do it against a table. So I can show you that right here. When you're doing it against a table, you don't have the full weight of your body like you do when you're doing it on the floor. So you can kind of do this like push up here, very slow down, and then very slow up. Like my muscles are working a lot just with that.
Sure, just because you're going slowly too.
Yeah.
Which is also very interesting. Just as we age and we're moving more slowly, are we, you know, kind of taxing our body more because we're moving slowly? It's kind of an interesting question. And we do have another question too. Ginny Delgado from actually our Director of Client Services just asked a question. What about some good strength exercises for people with knee and hip problems, and also get them ready for surgeries?
Yeah, Ginny, the exercise sitting against the wall will help with knee problems, because those are really working the muscles that stabilize the knee. Your thigh muscles, like those leg muscles, stabilize that knee joint. With hips, I would have somebody do a hip abduction. And the great way to do that hip abduction is, let's see. Usually we were having people take their dog leash, but I don't have my dog here. So then we were having people take a belt, a dog leash. One of our clients during the quarantine used the belt of their robe, but essentially you tie this belt around your legs. So you've got the leash either tied in a knot around your legs, or a belt, or anything that has a little bit of give, so it doesn't dig into the side of your legs, but it doesn't have so much give that you could push through it. But essentially you'll tie it around those legs there, and then you'll push your legs out into that belt, or the dog leash is my favorite.
Something that kind of stabilizes you.
Yeah. And so you're pushing those legs out like that, and that strengthens the small and medial glutes, which stabilize your hips. It's called the hip abduction. And you may know the machines in a gym where you're pushing your legs out, and you're supposed to feel the burn here, anywhere here, like hips, butt area. And that will stabilize the hip joint, those are the stabilizing muscles. These muscles are very important for walking. They stabilize your pelvis. So when people begin to get older and they start to trip over their own feet or shuffle as they walk, this is the exercise that prevents that, or that can reverse that. So just what I like to tell people to do, and this we go through this exercise in the video that we're going to share with you, and that link through that link. You have your belt around here, and you're going to push into it for 30 seconds using a moderate level of strength, so about 50% of your effort. And then after 30 seconds, you're going to increase to 75, and then after that 30 seconds, you're going to increase to 100% of your effort. You don't want to let yourself rest, so you want to push solidly for that minute and 30 seconds. But by the end of that third 30-second period where you're doing 100% of your effort, you should be really feeling those muscles.
That's great.
A lot of people.
Oh, let me also let you know too, Ginny. Ginny also asked, do you encourage seniors to do these exercises to prepare them for surgery? I think people don't understand how important it is to be strong before those surgeries take place.
Yes, and what's really interesting is, you know, we've been here in our Pasadena location since 2011, and I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years, we get a lot of people coming in because their surgeons have told them, before I will do this surgery, you need to become stronger. And so they're here specifically to become stronger for the procedure. And it's your body is going to heal more quickly. You're going to have less complications the stronger you are going into any type of procedure.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Come on in.
You have somebody coming in, and
Yeah.
your session starting really quickly too. We'll probably bring Steve back in really quickly. I think he's off getting a cup of coffee right now. But I
think people think that you have to move weights or you know, there has to be like some sort of special something to get a benefit from exercise. Really, you're just working the muscles. You're just contracting the muscles. Like you could just push your 2 hands together and feel the muscles in your arms and shoulders. And that's contracting and working your muscles. And there's going to be a benefit from anything that you do like that. So the at-home, like our quarantine workout, which can be done in poor weather, is just, I mean, we'll have that. A lot out of it.
Yeah, we'll have that available for people. Yeah. So Ginny, you heard her questions. She'll probably answer the phone when people call. But yeah, give us that information, and we'll have that available for people. And give us the name and the contact information for the strength shop too, because if anybody's going through anything like this, a challenge and facing a surgery, I think that they should know now.
Yeah, we can prepare you for your surgery, for any surgery. So the strength shop, it can be reached at 626-999-4850. And my email is Melinda@thestrengthshop. That's a little bit more complicated because Strength Shop has SHOPPE.
Right, like old English.
Yeah, misspell that. But we're happy to answer any of your questions. If you do those were excellent questions, by the way, Jenny. So thank you for asking them. If you do have a surgery coming up, or you know, you need to build strength for anything like that, we can definitely help you.
Fantastic. Sounds great. Well, you have a great session with your client.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on, and we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the show.
You too. Thanks. Or have a great day, great weekend.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness too. It's actually become a pandemic according to the CDC. And I pulled up a great article out of Geriatric Medicine Today. And there's a fantastic article on isolation and how it matters to the heart. This was written by Michelle Deppe, D-E-P-P-E. And you know, it's not a surprise to me. It's something that I know we've had to balance over time too with COVID. I personally, our agency did not have anyone we had many people impacted, and we did not have any deaths, fortunately, due to COVID. They were all related to loneliness, isolation, really not having focused care and support, our fear of getting more care in a hospital because of the spread of COVID. So there were a lot of other reasons why our clients passed away. This article is very interesting. It states that 30% of heart attacks have increased due to isolation, directly because of isolation. I don't know how they're finding these statistics, if when somebody does have a heart attack, if they're talking more about their isolation and their possible depression or anxiety because of that. But it's also increasing stroke deaths and strokes by 32%. It is increasing dementia by 50%, or progressing dementias by 50%. I think that number is low. They also have a statistic that people 65 plus are suffering more isolation and not wanting to come out. And they're estimating that's about 22 to 47% of the population, which I think is really awful, and something that we're going to have to really work hard on in regards to progressing into socialization. I'm going to bring Steve back on too. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit. And if you have some opinions, you wanted to write some ideas, some questions, please feel free to do that. Yeah,
Hello.
Steve, we've got this article that just absolutely insane in regards to how terrible isolation is for your heart. As human beings, we were meant to be connected. Just like you can look at it in nature, we have to have enough water to have things to grow, and we have to have these balance of things. We need to have balance of socialization in our lives too. So we're looking at these tremendous numbers escalating in regards to our health and how damaging that is.
Scary.
It is scary. In fact,
it also gives you a sense of purpose too, right? That if you're home by yourself, you get up, maybe you have things to do around the house, or maybe just sit and pop down and sit in front of the TV set all day. If you have those social interactions, someone's coming over, you're going someplace, you've got to get out of bed and get in the shower and groom yourself. And if someone's coming over, make sure that your house is presentable. And so, it gives you purpose for the day.
It's true. And I think in general, purpose is meant to be shared. So while purpose is something that excites you, something that you're good at, something that you enjoy doing, I think it's also ultimately meant to be shared so that you can share that little bit of something to mentor and support and engage with another person. And so please, we are doing a lot of work in our office in a program called Shape Up, and we're evaluating individuals on any level, people in my age group, your age group, people who work with us as current clients and who may have a very high level of high levels of cognitive functioning and very impaired levels of cognitive functioning. So we vary that based on where they are. But I find, and we've talked about this before, I find that people in assisted living, and even more so because they've been forced to sit in their rooms, they are so lonely. And so I'm going to make it an effort to let's get more stories on this. We need to talk more about it. We need to share how we're breaking through the fear of becoming more social again. And every time I go to a social event, I think, we do this kind of stuff all the time. And then when I'm actually there, it's almost like this hum of a vibration of being around others, just is so uplifting. And maybe you're a loner at heart, but typically we are meant to be with others and to find our energy and to improve our emotional health and also our physical health based on this study.
Sure. And especially if you were married and you lost your spouse and you had been with that person for years, decades, and then all of a sudden you're in a home by yourself, then it's even greater. Do you have a greater need to to have a semblance of that association that you used to have, right?
Absolutely. 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 So important to connect and hear voices, but it's even more important to have that human touch, which is why I think pets can be so therapeutic, especially if we're living alone. So I think it's something we're going to need to continue to talk about. I want to get more stories from you out there in regards to how you're combating that, how you're working through that. My own mom, we have a wedding that will be remote, and it's several months from now. And at the same time, I said, Mom, we've got a room. And she said, I don't know if I'm going to go because I'm just not used to being around many people anymore. And I thought, that really stings, just hearing my own mom say that she's comfortable with being kind of isolated. So I'm going to hope that we just kind of work up through that, and we'll kind of share that process over time and share the developments. But I think we need to talk more about getting out there, getting past that fear, talking about the fear too of being with others in large groups. I'm talking to some who are cancer survivors, and they're saying, you know what, I have to do it. I have to do it. It was gut wrenching and too depressing to be on my own. So let's continue the conversation, but let's also talk about what day it is today on the perk. So let me go ahead and bring that in. It is International Bagpipe Day. Did you know that?
I heard that. Yes.
And
that's great.
so
I love that.
I know the perk pun is I tried to play the bagpipes, but the sound coming out was off kilter. Like, that's so funny. So, I have also some fun pictures from the Pasadena Scots, who are an organization that they played the bagpipes. I'm gonna play a little bit of their music in the background for just a little bit while I play some of their pictures, because I think it's worth featuring them and having a little fun with this. So here we go. Go ahead.
I love it.
Put some of these pictures through too. It's in honor of International Bagpipe Day. There we go.
I don't hear the music.
Isn't that great? So I hope you can enjoy them. I spoke with Robert McTavish. He's the leader that they have for their group. And he talks about some of their events that they're doing. They are also looking for more things to be involved in with COVID. I think that they have had some more limited engagements and opportunities, but they're competing. They're doing all kinds of great things that way. And I think that they're also, let me pull up his little message. He said they're going to be playing at various locations in Old Town Pasadena on the evening of St. Patrick's Day. We're usually performing in the alleyways and the pubs around town, and we'll be performing and competing with many other bagpipe bands at the Orange County Fairgrounds over Memorial Day weekend at the Scottish Fest. So that should be a lot of fun. And thank you so much, Mr. McTavish, for letting us share those pictures. A lot of fun. So we'll go ahead and what is our day in sports history today?
Well, before we get to that, I have to comment on one of the exercises that Melinda was showing, where she had her back against a wall, and she was sitting on a chair, but there was no chair there, right? So that was one of the punishments we used to have when I was in high school when we were playing. When I played basketball, if our coach wasn't happy with our practice, or just in bad mood, he would tell us, "Put the balls away. You guys don't want to practice. We won't practice." And we had to go and sit up against a wall and sit in that position for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, whatever it was. So whenever I see someone doing that, it always goes back to those fun memories.
The torture. But little did you know that he was getting you stronger, because if you weren't doing it well, then apparently that was a great way to strengthen your body for other things.
If you could put yourself in that position and stay there for a while, then that definitely talks a lot about your.
It is
not an easy thing to do. So
yeah.
So our day in sports. We're in March, and if you're a sports fan, you know the term March Madness. So this is when the NCAA tournament begins, and we're having a lot of conference tournaments that are ending up this weekend. So in light of that, our day in history, in 1991 on this day, Eddie Sutton, who was a legendary coach, he took his fourth team to the NCAA tournament. So he had coached at Creighton. He had coached for over his coaching career spanned 5 decades. Wow. He started coaching in 1969. He retired in 2006. He took Creighton, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma State to the NCAA tournament.
Amazing.
So, had a lot of success. He was known for taking on downtrodden programs and turning them around in a very quickly manner, with the exception of Kentucky's always been a strong program. But the other 3 teams that he coached, they had gone years without a winning season, without going to the tournament, and had a lot of success. He was 804 in 328, 804 wins against 328 losses in his career.
Wow, amazing, amazing. That's great. That's a great moment in history. Thank you. Well, I think we've pretty much eaten up our time here. We've gone a little over, and I hope everybody stays safe wherever you live with the snow and the rain and the sleet, and enjoy your weekend and next week for St. Patrick's Day. So be safe.
Good.
Thanks
Thanks
everyone.
for show. Great show, Mary.
Thank you.